Hello everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the best Reddit answers being read to you. Enjoy! Serious, what's the most immature thing you've seen a grown but adult do? This woman and her husband confronted me and tried to start a fight for unfriending her on Facebook. We are in our mid-30s and have never interacted on Facebook and haven't spoke in 5 years. People get crazy on there. There was a girl I used to go to college with. She started teaching yoga classes and wanted me to friend her yoga studio. She'd send relentless invites to follow it, I'd delete one, she'd send another. Finally I was like if I don't delete it she can't send me one, so I left it alone for several months and hoped she'd forget. Finally figured enough time had passed and I deleted it. Nope, next day there was a new one. A few years later we'd lost touch, fine by me, she was irritating, so I figured I could unfriend her. She'd collected over 1,000 people on her page, so I thought she wouldn't notice. No, somehow this insane woman noticed the next day, scrolled through her entire friends list to see who had unfriended her, then sent me a new friend request. I don't even know how she knew who deleted her, like. She had an Excel list of everyone she friended? We hadn't talked or interacted in years and were only acquainted because of a college program. I work in retail, and it amazes me how quick grown-ups devolve back into children when there's a sale or during the weekend rush. They mess up the whole store, and the 2/3 staff who are free during closing have to clean up as best they can in the 15-20 minutes we've got. I've had customers throw away all shame over not being able to get their shoe size that was sold out / we received. Some in front of their kids. And you just stand there wondering, you really gonna teach your kids to behave like this when shopping? In public? I was working at Old Navy and had just finished refolding a table of boys' t-shirts. It was a thing of beauty. A woman walked up to it, looked at me, and said, "That looked like it took a while to do." Then she picked up a shirt, shook it out to see the full size, then dropped it back on top and walked away. I walked past two mothers pushing prams, one of them having a second child walking alongside them, and upon seeing me, a man with dwarfism, one of the mothers started laughing, pointed at me, going, Look at the funny little man." To her older kid, clearly within earshot of me. And when I heard the kid say, "What is he?" she said, "He's a midget." Felt like I got transported back to the 1800s freak show era or some poop. I just looked back to stare at her with an appalled look on my face. She didn't respond to me at all. It's like she didn't even acknowledge me as a person. Great attitude to instill in your kids. When I tried to explain myself to my father and he kept interrupting me and mimicked every word I said like a freaking toddler. BTW, he's 60. There is no better way to make yourself look like an absolute toddler than to start copying someone you're arguing with. It's so embarrassing for all involved. Did you ever see the time Piers Morgan was interviewing Alex Jones, and AJ just started repeating things in a bad British accent? Effing cringe. I caught my ex cheating on me, and I confronted him. Mind you, I was the only one working for the entire duration of our relationship. He got kicked out of his house, for not having a job and never contributing, about a month into us dating, and I, stupidly, told him he could live with me if he found a job. Surprise surprise, the job never came. Anywho, I find out he's cheating on me, because one of the many side women found out he had a girlfriend, and was an absolute angel and told me what was up. Sent me all the texts. This effer even sent her pictures from my laptop, while lying on my bed, in my goddamn Minor Threat t-shirt. For EFF's sake. So I confront him, and instead of taking any accountability, he takes my phone from my hand, throws it on the ground, absolutely destroying it. He tries to get in my face, but I'm not about to have some man baby intimidate me, so I tell him to suck on my taint and get the duck out of my house. This mother effer throws himself on the floor like a toddler, screaming, kicking. The whole nine. And then finally leaves. I packed his crap, threw it on the porch, and changed the locks. Bye, beach. My grandmother was telling that her mother-in-law was one of those people who needed attention constantly on them. At an important dinner with dozens of people were talking to her son and not her. She hid behind a pillar and would occasionally exclaim, "Since no one is listening to me, I guess no one wants to see me at all." The mental image of this is simultaneously comedy gold and just reprehensible enough to make me physically ill. What? I knew a girl who kicked 2 of her bridesmaids out of her wedding last minute because they weren't able to pay for all the exorbitant crap for her day, and then she proceeded to replace them with 2 broke meth addicts because she'd burned every other bridge. I have the opposite version. One of my wife's bridesmaids had accepted the invite, then a month before the wedding, she backed out, saying she couldn't afford the $200 round-trip plane ticket back to our home state. We knew her job didn't pay well, so we had already paid for her dress, her hotel room, and would have agreed to cover the ticket as well for her to attend. She was a good friend of both of us, and we wanted her there. Within a week of telling us, her social media has photos of her at a rather expensive concert. 2 months earlier, she'd also spent the money to fly across the country for 4 days at that year's Star Wars celebration, so it wasn't hard to figure out that we just weren't a priority. The friendship ended there. We were renting 2 rooms from my mill when things went south. Long story. Basically, after a long string of issues, she ended up assaulting me. We found a new place to live the same day, but came to an agreement that she would stay with my sil and we'd have everything out by Thursday. We ended up getting everything out on Tuesday. On Wednesday night, she decided to come back down and take her entire trash can, split open the bags, and leave it on the front yard. She also busted out her front window and claimed we did it. The upstairs neighbors at our place verified that we were, in fact, over at our new place all night. Better yet, Mill's neighbors verified that we had not been over since Tuesday and the yard and window were fine then. Best yet, a nosy neighbor saw her car pull in the driveway that night, stay there for like 15 minutes or so, and peel out. In the end, she ended up costing herself a $300 littering citation and a new window. My stepmom used to bully me just because I was a child. Looking back, I realized she was on pills and probably extremely frustrated that she had to take me in when my mom died. It's still no excuse to pick on a 7-year-old. Heaven forbid she chose to be with someone who had a child and had to take on some responsibility. Ducking losers these days, they're everywhere. Sorry that happened to you. My mom refuses to ever apologize to me for the simple fact that I am her child and therefore always wrong. Lamau, my mom does that. Also, when she gets angry, she doesn't speak to me or my dad, sometimes for days. Emo, if you're over the age of 5, just ducking, talk to people and explain why you're angry, instead of the silent treatment. If you don't tell me what the problem is, it's not my problem. I can't read minds. Works wonders to just tell someone off. Is there something wrong? No? Then stew and leave me alone. A guy sitting at the bar of an upscale restaurant took a bowl of hot buttered popcorn the bartender had just set out for patrons to enjoy and put it between his legs on the bar stool. No one could get to it without reaching between his thighs. Personally, I'm not touching any food put out in a bar like that. Too many people don't wash their hands after using the bathroom. From my experience in public restrooms, the likelihood a man washes his hands in the bathroom decreases with age. They have no shame in taking a poop and then just grabbing that door handle to leave. Even post-COVID. I just don't get it. It's not hard. BF at the time and I, early 20s, were at a hotel for a tattoo convention. He slightly disagreed with me over something and then kept arguing, but it was a matter of opinion, so I didn't bother arguing back. He got up, opened the closet, walked in and shut the door. I assume he expected me to beg him to come out, which is funny cause I didn't realize he was a huge homophobe, and he stayed in there for about 20 minutes. He came out, still mad, and gave me the cold shoulder for the rest of the weekend. Lamau. These are killing me. Acting like a literal child. When I lived with my mother, my chore was to clean the kitchen every day. Right, fine, fair enough. One day I didn't get round to it by the time she got home. Can't remember why. Anyway, she went nuts. Full on rage shouting. So I shouted back. I was a grown adult and the one time I didn't do it gave her no right to scream at me like that. Pissed me right off. So I said, when was the last time you came home and it wasn't done? And she just looked so damned happy and proud and triumphant and said today. Then proceeded to act like she hadn't just been screaming at me 5 seconds before. Like I should just be happy for her cause she had a good comeback when I was shaking with rage from the way she had just treated me. I swear if it had been around back then she would have dabbed. I'm still pissed about it. It wasn't even a good comeback. Good parents don't take out their anger on their children. Actually, good people in general don't take out their anger on others. Push their financial situation onto their kids who are all in elementary school. I remember at a young age, I stopped asking my parents for toys or anything. Always hearing we can't afford this, we can't afford that. Only to find out in recent years, my parents weren't paying rent. My dad was working for the property management as a renovator, Both parents were working good jobs, only to be spending money on drugs and alcohol. I mean, they weren't the worst of parents. We had a roof over our head, cooked meals for supper every night, and clean clothes. My dad was still is a bit of a cheapskate. I bug him about it. What would have been your answer or question? Leave it in the comments below. Slap that like and subscribe button for more, and check out the link in the video description for even more answers. Peace out, and catch you in the next video.